Let it be known that the true light shines in every woman and man that cometh into the world. The true light that shineth in the darkness, but the darkness comprehendeth it not. Let us all within air of this true light fellowship hour bear witness to the true light within, that we may, like the real and living Messiah, Yahshua Christ, who many know today as Jesus Christ, pick up and bear our own cross, that we may be worthy of the Messiah by way of the Christ or Christ consciousness, known also as the first resurrection. And as we are now living in these times, let us all rise from our sleep and slumber and do the works of the Most High Heavenly One, this day and every day, as we say, Amun, 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 and Namastu, which simply means, I bow to the divinity in you. Well, Namastu again, and welcome to another Sunday service here at the Holy Qubtic Church of the Black Messiah. My name is Pastor Dr. Cleveland W. Eneas III, also known as Ka-Hun Anku Sarah. As always, we like to begin by acknowledging our listening congregation, those who would have not made it into the Kanisa today, but are listening to this message, maybe on radio or Facebook or YouTube, or however you're hearing this. We encourage you to come down to historic Maintown any Sunday at 9 a.m. for our Sunday services, or any Wednesday at 7 p.m. for our True Light Fellowship and Bible study, as we are located at number 72 Meadow Street, just opposite Eneas Street. And for those of you who did make it, again, Namastu. Namastu. It simply means I bow to the divinity in each and every one of you. And Nefer Baka, which means simply good morning. How's everybody today? Good. Y'all sound like y'all almost great, you know. Y'all will be great after today. Yes, the rain come true for sure. Today, around Christendom, many are celebrating what we know as Palm Sunday. And so I'm sure in short order we'll hear the bands passing, and I'll speak about that when they pass. But I know they're coming. In the Holy Qubtic Church. And we're going to speak more about Palm Sunday actually next Sunday. Because this week, beginning March 22nd, the Holy Qubtic Church moves into the Qubtic Passover. And so today our sermon topic is the African origin of Passover. The African origin of Passover. We want to begin in the original books of the Bible, page 219, verses 74 to 76. Which is coming out of book number 12, the book of the Tamarain, or ancient African Adama, or Adam. Page 219, verses 74 to 76. It reads, "Let all the guardian angelic host gather and call humanity forth in groups." You're being called forth in groups. This is very important because today we're talking about the African origins of Passover, which means other people have versions of Passover as groups, whether they be the so-called Jew, the so-called Muslim, the so-called Christian, the Greco-Roman Christian that is. They all have some interpretation of Passover, and it is their right to have their interpretation of Passover. So we're not here to knock anybody's interpretation of Passover. It goes on to say, with this Tamarain or ancient African reality, things are such that the thought or subsequent statement, "Let us make man in our image and after our likeness," has been repeated many times, and each time by different universal governing forces, inclusive of the celestial and terrestrial angelic hosts of both balanced and unbalanced natures, for and with different purposes. So the statement, let us make man in our image and after our likeness, has been said by many groups, many different groups. And so what we are doing in the Holy Qubtic Church is bringing you back into alignment with those of your genetic origin or your genetic seed that actually said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. Because at this stage, what we're doing is living in the image and after the likeness of other groups, of other people. You understand? It goes on to say, verse 75, peace and blessings be upon all humanity from on high. Furthermore, the elder angelic host Tahuti, being the microcosmic personification of divine intellect, patron of learning and literature, gave or inspired every generation of humanity to maintain intellect, writings, wisdom, scribes, and reason, all of which were encoded through the genes, namely the DNA, RNA, and chromosomes, all of which allows for humanity to have and fulfill the quest for fire. The quest for fire, that fire is intellect. You should have a quest and a yearning for intellect, which will link you back to the guardian angelic host, thereby opening the gateway to the mental reservoir, which is the primordial fire called outellect. So last week we spoke about this spell of religion that we have to break, and the fact that we must be in tune with ourselves to the point where our spirit and our soul ultimately aligns with the etheric portion of ourselves, or our RNA, our DNA, and the chromosomes must become one, because the chromosomes have a link to the universal consciousness. That universal consciousness is coming out of or at one with the primordial fire called the mental reservoir. Verse 76 reads, give praises to Ane-Re, thus in that generation, he who sat in the seat of the elder angelic host Tahuti did deem it necessary to impart within humanity the innate ability to make the transition from mortality to immortality, whereby the willing spirit and fleshly body merges as one. So the elder angelic host Tahuti, the angel Michael, all right, in biblical texts, saw that it was necessary to impart within humanity this innate ability to make a transition from mortality to immortality. And this happens by way of the willing spirit and fleshly body merging as one. And as if on cue, here comes our band. As I knew they would. And so therefore I made sure that they are part of the sermon. What you hear right now, because we just spoke about the fact that the willing spirit and the fleshly body must merge as one. What you hear is the sound or the soundtrack of a group of people who consistently regurgitate a story that keeps them separated from who they truly are. So the drums are playing, the cymbals are banging, the people are marching, and the palms are held high in the air with little to no understanding of what the palms actually mean, what this actually means to them, and how it can actually allow for them to become one with the Most High. So this is a song and dance that, like a dog that pukes up everything that was given to it to eat, they puke it up and then eat it back up. And they're puking it out again right now this morning. You understand? And they are brothers and sisters. So we're not saying these things to be facetious or to be mean. But if you are sick, the only way you could ever hope to be healed is to first recognize that you're sick. And that's a sickness we have in this country. You understand? Because we don't even understand that our route to salvation is through our own genetics. our own DNA, RNA, and chromosomes, which we spoke about last week. So the original books of the Bible basically sets the context of the sermon insofar as if the body is not in tune with the spirit, is not in tune with the soul, is not in tune with the mind, is not in tune with the blood, is not in tune with the physical and the spiritual heart, if it's not in tune with the 9 principles, okay, if the body being the heart is not in tune with the other 8 principles, then your song and dance is just a song and dance. It has nothing to do with salvation. It's just a song and dance. And for too long, we've been into this song and dance. You understand? And we could do the song and dance so well that people love to watch us.
That's right.
Sing and dance. To the point where we have a whole industry now that we still don't control. See, it may have been so bad that we control these things. But we trying to figure out how to sign up to get used. You see what I'm saying? And so today we have to continue this discussion of us actually getting to the point where now we can merge and become one with the real you. Okay? So don't follow someone else who their parents, their guardian angelic host said, let us make our children in our image and after our likeness. You right in line. Huh? You look like no one else. Use the penguin running amongst the lions. Huh? Use the barracuda amongst the grunts. Huh? Use the lion amongst the sheep. More like it. Huh? And so today then we look at a story, because that's all it is a story in the book of Exodus chapter 12 that speaks to what we know as Passover. And so the time for lies is done. You see? So when you tell them the truth and they try to fight you down because you're telling them the truth, just understand that person is sick. So don't fight with them. You know, many times it's best to just not say anything. You just smile.
That's right.
You see? You just, okay, all right, good, all right.
I hear you.
Gotcha. You see? Yeah, because, you know, a 12th grader arguing with a kindergarten, that don't look good. That don't look good.
No.
You see what I'm saying? They can look at the 12th grader wrong, not the kindergarten.
Right.
Exodus chapter 12, and we're going to start at verse 14, because this Exodus 12 is speaking about where they say Passover actually came from a group of people who call themselves the Jews, but are not really the Jews, as seen in the book of Revelations 2:9 and 3:9, where Yahshua himself said, "You are not Jews, you are the synagogues of Satan." Okay, so we're not going to go into all of that today. But verse 14 of chapter 12 says, "And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and ye shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever." Now, which feast are they talking about? They're talking about this time where they said an angel of death would have passed over Egypt, and the only way that they could have been saved is by putting blood on the doorposts. And once the angel saw the blood, the angel would not kill the firstborn of the household. And so therefore now in verse 14, it's talking about them now making this an observance or a memorial forever. It says, 7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread, even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day unto the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. In other words, if you're not living our true religious identity, then you're not counted amongst us. Because that's what the word ritual, the root of it is rite. And the word rite simply means to count or to be counted amongst. So like the word arithmetic,
Yes.
Arith, rit, right? So if you're not living as we live, then we can't count you amongst us. Okay? It goes on to say, verse 16, and in the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and in the seventh day there shall be a holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in this selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at even or evening ye shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even. 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Ye shall eat nothing leavened, in all your habitations shall ye eat unleavened bread. And Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said unto them, draw out and take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover. And ye shall take a bunch of hyssop, and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the two side posts, which the blood that is in the basin, and none of you shall go out at the door of his house until the morning. For the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians, and when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, the Lord will pass over the door, and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. And ye shall observe this thing, an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. So, here in Exodus, they're giving you what's supposed to be a playback of what actually took place, they say, in Egypt. And this was the beginning of the undoing of the Egyptians, who they say were the slave masters of the Israelites. And, once these things began to happen, the Pharaoh would let his people go. Right? Well, there's a couple things that we want to point out with regards to the story. One of the things is that, let's just go to Exodus chapter 1 first, right? Because I want you to see something here. All right? Exodus 1, we're going to start at verse 8. Okay? Because this is what's been happening to us over and over again. This whole situation with Nygard and Bacon, it's been played out in our societies over and over again, where some white foreigners, or foreigners on the whole, come in and divide us as a people. So this is straight out of their playbook. And we ain't smart enough to pick up on it yet. Right? So in any event, Exodus chapter 1 verse 8. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. First of all, we didn't have kings in Egypt. We had Nefertiti, which later were called Pharaoh. But they say that this king or this Pharaoh did not know Joseph. In other words, this particular king or Pharaoh was not of the original, the three groups of 12 royal tribes. This particular ruler obviously was foreign. And here's how we're going to know that. Verse 9. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more mightier than we. So automatically there's a distinction. I mean, come on.
No brainer.
And they ain't gotta, yeah. It's primary school right there. You know what I'm saying? That's scatting the heart right there. Right? So they say the children of Israel are more and mightier than we, which is the case around the world. We spoke about how our BB, our Qubtic Pope, Dr. Francis Cress Welton, may she rest in peace, speaks about the fact that the so-called white man, woman, and child is a minority on the planet. I'm not saying that all white people are bad. That's not what we're saying. for the white people listening to this, if you really care, you go speak to your people, please. Okay? Because that ain't really my job. Please get your people in order. Because they're destroying the planet. No, for real. So don't get mad at me. All right? Because y'all know exactly what they're doing. You understand? And so around the world, they are the minority. But listen to verse 10, because this is what they continue to do. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us. So get them up out of the land. So they are dealing wisely with us. They took all of our original stories, twisted them, and beat us until we accepted it.
Take care of the land too.
You understand? When we talk about slavery and repatriation and reparations, we ain't really talking about what happened 400 years ago, you know. We talking about what's still happening right now. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's still being done to us. You understand? Verse 11, therefore they did set over them taskmasters, the slavery, to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramesses. Okay, so Ramesses was actually a city, right? So why is this important? We are celebrating a group of people coming in amongst us and putting taskmasters over us to burden us. That's what that band who just passed just now is celebrating. Without them even knowing it. Because they, as far as they're concerned, it's Palm Sunday. And I don't know why you would celebrating someone on Sunday and you could kill him Friday. And then you call that Friday good. Wasn't good for Jesus. You understand what I'm saying? Because he was like, yo, let me, it's possible that this cop ixnay on the crucifix name. You know what I'm saying? So don't act like he was all happy to get crucified. He wasn't into that. So you celebrate him on Sunday, and Friday, not even a full 7 days gone, you kill him. That's the people we dealing with today, you know. In your face, they holding up a palm. And when you turn around, they get 3 nails waiting for you. I hope you all understand what's going on. You understand? And so they put us in slavery. And if we go back to Exodus 12, okay, and we're going to read now from verses 39 and 40. Okay, let's actually start from verse 37. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot that were men, beside children. It says, and a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. So there's a mixed group, because after they enslaved us, they did what? Just like they're doing today. They mixed with us, whether it was forcefully or through seduction, or through our ignorance. They mixed with us. You understand? And we mixed with them. All right? Verse 39, and they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt, and could not tarry, neither had they prepared for themselves any victual. So, let me ask you this now. You being enslaved in a land that you don't want to be in, and you have an opportunity to live, and you got to get thrust out. Come on now. Come on now. Come on. You realize these fellas leave the gate open, you know. You know, I can look at Steve and I looking at Sheen and looking at me. I'm talking. I just time to move. These fellas stay slipping. They say they go on church, they come in right back. So they get Palm Sunday today. We gone. He ain't gonna thrust us out of here. We ain't gonna be in here. So what is this talking about? Huh? Verse 40, now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. So they weren't enslaved then. They were sojourning. Yeah, they were there. They were on vacation. It was sojourning. For my sojourning. Yes? So someone's lying. It's always saying. Now, I brought this up before, and in bringing it up, I often hear, well, Pastor Eneas, what you don't understand is that they thrust them out of Egypt because God was raining these plagues down on them. And they just couldn't take these plagues no more, so they said, y'all get out of Egypt, right? Because the plagues became too burdensome for Pharaoh and his people, and so they said, you know what, y'all are the reason for these plagues, so that's why we thrusting you out. I said, okay, that's a good one now, that's a good one. Except, what you's following them for then? Why you run behind them to die? Huh? You see the Red Sea open up, that would have been it for me. This is this is where we stop. They gone. They just run through the middle of the ocean. I ain't falling now. Huh? No, they going running behind them. No, that don't make no sense. Then Moses, who been talking about this promised land, he get almost the promised land and he ain't make it in. Well, he wasn't trying to get it. I only walking you far enough to make sure you don't turn back. That's what this was, you know. This wasn't about no going to the promised land. This was about get out of my land. You understand? Now, what is very interesting about these plagues and about this Passover that many people may or may not know, and you'll see this coming out in one of our parchments, The African Origins of Easter. Okay? But this story is really not a new story. This story is a story that was plagiarized. Okay? And it actually comes from the Elephantine papyri. Elephantine papyrus. Or papyri, because there were many. Okay? And I'm going to write this down for you because you really need to just check it out. Okay, and this is a place along the Nile. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, an island in the Nile near the cataracts, right? As the river begins to break off into the ocean. But the Elephantine papyri discovered in 1903 says, which are in Aramaic, not Hebrew. Okay, because Hebrew, as we know today, is a combination of German and the Shemitic languages. Because that's what these people really are. Okay? It says, these papyri, which are in Aramaic, not Hebrew, speaks of this group of Greeks and their religious Hellenistic beliefs. And they were soldiers called the Hyksos or Hykakasut, were Indo-Aryans from the Persian Empire that was stationed in Elephantine, an island in the Nile, yes it is, beginning in about 586 before Alexandrian invasion, or BAI is what we would say, before Alexandrian invasion. So if you ever see BAI, that's what we're talking about, right? Of Africa, until they succeeded in invading and taking control of Hut Waret, which they renamed Avaris, their capital city. So in Exodus 12, when they talk about the city that they sojourned in, they really talking about this city called Avaris that they controlled for 430 years. Right? So it goes on to say, now what's very important about the Elephantine papyri is that it speaks of those branches of 3 groups of 12 royal tribes of Ishmael, Israel, and Midiani, our family, who fled into southern Khami, okay, or Kemen as some would say, when Jerusalem the Mennonite ruled city of Jerusalem was destroyed by the invading hordes of the three sets of 12 invading dynasties of Europa, who are Ishmaeli, Israeli, and Mitanni, that are Indo-Aryans, Caucasian Anglos, and Pale Arab Emirates. So we were recording a point in our story where we had to flee Armana or Jerusalem because these invading tribes were coming in amongst us or trying to come in amongst us to rule us. Some people they did actually rule, the people who didn't leave. Those who left were able to keep the stories intact in such papyri as the Elephantine papyri. Okay? The Elephantine papyri also proves that the Hyksos invaders as shepherds were called Israel. Now, here's the King James Version of the Bible now. See, because people can say, boy, he sounds deep now, but where you get that from? Huh? But let's go into the book we didn't write. The King James Version, Hebrew, Greek, keyword, study Bible, AMG. Okay? In the actual preface to the book of Exodus in this Bible, it says, Exodus is a Greek word which means departure and is derived from ek, out of, and hudos, road. The Hebrew title, which are the first words in the Hebrew text, means, and these are the names of. So this book ain't even named Exodus. This book name and these are the names of. So somebody moved some names. Somebody who was getting kicked out called it Exodus. It goes on to say the book of Exodus describes the deliverance of the Israelites from Egypt, their journey to Mount Sinai, and the events that occurred during their journey there, or their sojourn there. The patriarch Jacob had brought his family to Egypt to avoid starvation. See this in Genesis 46, right? 1 through 27. Then it says, when the Hyksos invaded Egypt and gained political power, the descendants of Jacob were forced into slavery. So, who are doing slavery, man? That's coming right out of the Bible. The Hyksos was enslaving the original Israelites. The three groups of 12 tribes. Israel, Ishmael, Midiani. Not Israeli, Ishmaeli, Midiani. That's talking about the Hyksos that they admit to in their own Bible took over Egypt. So how you could admit that in the preface, then when you get in the story, you learn about these Egyptians who have these Israelites enslaved. Now in the Holy Qubtic Church, of course, we don't claim to be Egyptians. We're Tamarans. The Egyptians are pagans. Because the Egyptians are the Hyksos. Aegyptos, which means burnt faces. That's what their movie Gods of Egypt is all about. That's talking about Greek Egypt. Them coming in and stealing our identity. That's what that's all the movie about. And that's all this Bible about. And that's what this song and dance has been about now for 2,000 plus years with us as a people. Dare I say 6,000 years. Right? So, it ain't like we just talking about these Hyksos. Right? The Bible talk about it. Right? It goes back now, going back to our parchment. The Elephantine papyri also proves that the Hyksos invaders, as shepherds, were called Israel. All right? Were not enslaved by the Tamarans, but instead they actually enslaved those members of the three groups of 12 royal tribes that were unable to escape, thus captured. So the Israelites were the slave masters, just like in this recent slavery. Minister Louis Farrakhan and his team put out a book talking about this. That's my little man right there. This relationship between blacks and Jews. And they asked him to denounce the book. He says, sure, I will denounce the book as soon as you denounce every rabbi that I quoted in the book. Because the Jews saying this about the Jews. The Nation of Islam ain't saying it. Their own people saying we own slaves. We was running the slave trade.
That's right.
You understand? So these Jews who are pretending to be you are the synagogue of Satan, according to the Bible. Don't say Pastor Eneas call them the devil. The Bible said. You believe in the Bible, right? Okay, well, it's the devil then. And based off of this, it is clear that the enslavers were able to rewrite and make a pseudo-history in order to place blame on the victim. That's their game, to always make you look guilty. Some water, please. Make you look guilty. Make you feel guilty. You understand? They create policies that cause you to not be able to function. And then when you try your best to function in a way that they don't see or they know is illegal, they can lock you up and say, you're the problem. You understand? But when the reality is crime starts from the House of Assembly via England. So they created a pseudo-history in order to place blame on the victim while claiming the glory and victimization of the persecuted as a means by which to gain sympathy, which we refer to as identity theft. Now, again, ain't just us saying they make this stuff up to get sympathy. Let's go to the Bible. See, because you all love the Bible. So, because you love the Bible, and you show in the Bible, okay? Revelation chapter 2, verse 9. I know thy works. This is Joshua talking to them now. And tribulation and poverty. And then in brackets, what it say? But thou art rich. So these people who claiming they poor and you must watch Sinner's List every year. And mind you, I ain't knocking them for watching Sinner's List. Don't make me watch it. Unless you can sit down and watch Roots with me. But don't talk to me with no Schindler's List. And you ain't watching Roots with me. Because your Holocaust, with all due respect, is a joke compared to ours. Because at least yours ended. So they pretending to be poor, but the Bible said they're rich. In brackets. In red. I know the blasphemy of them would say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogues of Satan. So we ain't just saying this. The Elephantine Papyrus ain't just saying this. The Bible said the Bible is good enough for me to tell you about how you get lied to. So I'm not going to go into the intricacies of the papyrus at this time because we don't have the time for it. However, in the papyrus, you will see all of the elements of the story that they created so that they could fool you, right? The Elephantine Papyri also addresses the 10 plagues. You mean we got some plagues in Egypt what ain't nobody tell us about? That ain't the devil? So there's a story that they are keeping away from you. The Elephantine Papyri also addresses the 10 plagues, yet instead of it being said to have come from God, it is recorded as being the plague of leprosy, which the 3 sets of 12 invading dynasties of Europa were infested with, and thus infected the lands, homes, peoples they came in contact with. Now you could go read the journals of Christopher Columbus, who was pissing in the water and causing these people to catch syphilis and all type of gonorrhea and all. They used to call that the hand of God. That's what they call their sickness and their disease, the hand of God. So this ain't had nothing to do with God putting no plagues on the Egyptians. This had to do with a group of people who carry with them a defective gene that gives them something called albinism, which has 250 negative traits. This was what science is teaching, okay? Not me. So you can afford to be mad at me, but you can go to your grave mad, because at the end of the day, I ain't me who's saying it, right? Even the so-called Greek historians in the letter of Aristides, written in Greece in the 2nd century before the Alexandrian invasion, records that the Jebusite Jewish Greek garrison had been sent into Avaris, which is Aegyptos, Egypt, to assist the Greek appointed king Psammetichus I in his campaign against the Nubians after the death of the tribal ruler of Ferti, Taharqa. So once Taharqa died, then the Greeks say, okay, now is our chance. Now, what they're not telling you is that this Taharqa, okay, wasn't just going to help Hezekiah in the Bible, right? Taharqa is Hezekiah. Taharqa is Hezekiah, right? In the 12 tribes, and I'm going to read an excerpt just to explain my point. One of our tribal rulers, Sennacherib II, I should say Sennacherib, he had two sons, Amos and Chamos. Amos and Chamos represent Ephraim and Manasseh. All right? It says here, the two sons, Amos and Chamos, as the sons of Sennacherib, were actually the progenitors of the tribes of Ephraim and Manasseh, as seen in Genesis 48, that did merge with Yehudah, because they call them half-tribes. Okay? Further proof that this original Tamarian or ancient African tribe is actually the true genetic seed, from which certain rulers of Ishmaelites, Israelites, and Midianites came from, is found in the fact that one from the direct line of the ruler Sennacherib or Sennacherib Tau II, known as the Nubian Melaninite ruler of Nubia and Ethiopia, Taharqa. He who, and the word Taharqa means he whose arms are open to the highest while on earth, is biblically said to have assisted one called Hezekiah, the ruler of Judah, in the book of Jeremiah chapter 5, 19 to 21. Jeremiah chapter 5, 19 to 21. So Taharqa is said to have assisted Hezekiah. Yet, what is never made clear is the reality that the Tamarian or ancient African linguistic and scriptural facts prove that they were actually one and the same person. Let us go to 2 Kings 19, 9 and 10, and Isaiah 37 and 9, and look up the meaning of the name Hezekiah, and it will reveal something amazing. We won't go there. I have it here, but write it down. You can write it down. 2 Kings 19, 9 and 10, and Isaiah 37 and 9. In the Strong Concordance, this word Hezekiah, which is 2388, means to fasten upon, to seize, be strong, help, repair, fortify, conquer, aid, amend, encourage, make hard, maintain, repair, recover, withstand. So this was actually one of the attributes of Taharqa in helping his people from these Hyksos who were invading and trying to take over. As such, this name is not actually the person's name, but instead their actions, which leads us to ask, why is the Nubian Melaninite ruler Taharqa being brought in by the Most High Heavenly Father in Isaiah 37 and 10 to assist the Judahites as a ruler of Nubia and his Nubian Melaninite people, if they were not actually of the seed of the three groups of 12 royal tribes? Why are they helping the Judahites, the Judeans, if they weren't actually Judeans? Why were they allied with them in any way, being from Nubia? And this is the game that they've been playing with us for centuries now. For centuries. And so the reality then is, with Passover, what was actually happening was that our true religious identity was being stolen from us, as it continues to be stolen, not so much by those who came in and just took it, but more so by we who don't want the identity anymore. You understand? We don't want to claim our greatness because we still listening to the same people who invaded us, who enslaved us in the first place. If the Jebusite Jews were not enslaved in Tamaray, then how has such a world and life-altering concept become so engrafted into popular monotheistic beliefs? Again, we repeat, identity theft is not so new a crime. it was taking place whereby the great writer Herodotus was the one who made up the story of the Jebusite Jews slaves, known as Greek Hebrews or Jews building the pyramids. So Herodotus and others were creating this lie. That's why they call Herodotus the father of history, because he was the main one writing the lie. Him and others, and they've continued to tell this lie over and over again. But you are now in a day and time whereby you have technology on your side. You don't have to sit down and listen to a bunch of foolishness. Matter of fact, if you do, you could just log it under foolishness. Because sometimes you ain't got no choice, right? But you could smile, like when I hear Steve McKinney and Dr. Elwood Donaldson laughing about Africa and how we only used to worship trees and rocks. This is the type of foolishness they spewing on the radio. You understand? And I got great respect for both of those men, so don't get me wrong. I don't care if it's my ma. If she start talking foolishness, with all due respect, mommy, that's foolishness. With all due respect. So Steve McKinney and Dr. Elwood Donaldson is a joke compared to my ma. When they say we were animists, because they say, yeah, they was animists and they used to worship the rock. That's not what we were doing. How could we be that dumb? But then when the British came in to what they call Benin, which was one of the kingdoms in Nigeria, when they came in and burned our city down in the late 1800s, 1897 thereabout, and they went into the palace, they found what is called today the Benin bronzes, which are in the British Museum today. In order for them to create the Benin bronzes, and they didn't even believe the people from Nigeria, they didn't believe these people actually did it. They were actually awed by the fact that they actually did it. Now, how do we know that they did it? Well, this ain't deep now. This kindergarten right here now. Because they still doing it. You could go there today and they still casting these molds. And the detail is impeccable. And they still have an oba, or what the Europeans call a king. And on the top of the palace that the British allowed them to have again, they have a snake, just like on the headpiece of Asaru. Same snake. On the Benin bronzes, they have the bast. They don't know what it is. The people who talking about, they don't know what it is. They have bast. They have bass with the cheetah and the sash. You understand? The sash made from the skin of the cheetah. And they're like, we don't know what these animals represent. These animals represent the mascots of the 3 groups of 12 royal tribes. And they could take this story all the way from Benin, all the way up through Mali, all the way to Tamaray. You understand? Because that is what they have had to do in order to link these stories together. Just type in, go on YouTube, Lost Kingdoms of West Africa.
Yes.
All right? There's a black, he's an art historian, Dr. Casey, I think it's Gus Casey.
Yeah, that one posted.
I posted it because I need y'all to look at it so when people start talking foolishness to y'all, because yes, they do say on the documentary, yes, they were animists. But animist is talking about or understanding that the breath of the Most High is in everything.
I'm on.
What is the breath of the Most High? DNA.
That's right.
Deoxyribonucleic acid. Oxy, the breath. The hidden one within all. Amun. You understand? But don't let them laugh and tell you your people were stupid because they got a couple degrees now. So Mohammedans have degrees too.
That's right.
More than anybody
That's right.
who's called themselves a doctor. So having degrees don't make you smart.
That's right.
Don't make you the standard.
No need to.
It can make you rational though.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about rational last week. And I ain't getting fully to what the word rational mean, but this is what I would say about it at this time. Things that are rational, and this is going back, this ain't me. There's I think he's a philosopher, but a writer a Greco-Roman writer called Heidegger. Okay? And if you look up Heidegger says that the Greek language is void of being. This ain't what I saying. This ain't what the Holy Coptic Church saying. What they saying about themselves. They saying the Greek language is void of being. That's why they have to be rational. Because there's no soul. And this then, as we wrap up, is why we must know the origin of the Passover. The Passover was not about some angel of death who could see blood. He only could see blood. This nigga blind. He only could see blood. Right? No. In the Holy Coptic Church, we have what's called the Chinook. And that Chinook is placed about a fourth of the way down on all of the doors in our homes, except for closets and bathrooms. And one of the reasons we put it up there for is to remind us that this breath that they laugh at as animism, when we come into the house, we kiss our 3 fingers and we touch the Chinook to remind us that by way of the breath of the Most High, we are one with the Most High. Because we all breathe the same air. No matter what religion we have, we all have to breathe the same air. And that is the oneness of An-Neri. You understand? We understood that there was no angel coming over to kill any firstborn. That guardian angelic host was one known as Anubu. And Anubu, his mascot is the dog, the jackal. Okay? And the reality is that he is called the underdog. Or not that he is the underdog, but he is the dog that is what? From the under or the nether world. The Amduat. You see what I'm saying? And so the reality of the situation is, he then feels for the underdog. You and I, who in a world that wasn't built for us, has to be protected. And so as we celebrate Passover, what we're celebrating, number one, is the fact that we have an original Passover. Because you have your own religion. Never forget you have your own religion. Don't let nobody come talking to you about, oh, use the Coptic. We ain't no Coptic church. We the Coptic church. When my wife, or when anybody else's wife, or when any of the brothers lighting them Shabbat candles, you lighting candles for your own religion.
That's right.
When you make sila, you ain't making sila like somebody else. You making sila like your ancestors. That we have. You see all these pictures on this walls? You making sila like them. You observing Passover like them. Next Sunday is New Resurrection Sunday. Where we'll talk about what the palm actually means. This is your religion. This is your way of life.
You have been listening to the True Light Fellowship Hour, brought to you by the Qubtic Church of the Black Messiah, Journey Home Group International, and our advertising partners, of whom we are very thankful. We are located at number 72 Meadow Street in historic Baintown and led in the Bahamas by Pastor Dr. Cleveland W. Eneas III, also known as Ka-Hun, Anku. If this message has been a blessing to you today, and you feel it in your heart to assist us in bringing forth this weekly message by way of advertising or otherwise, or you wish a copy of this message, we ask that you please contact us at 242-426-1148 or email us at qubticrevealer@gmail.com. That's QUBTIC revealer@gmail.com, or on Facebook, the Qubtic Church of the Black Messiah Journey Home Group International, Bahamas branch. We bow to the divinity in each and every one of you by saying, Namastu.
Eluti mingi ngana kuku kateo.